it's supposed to feel.
Yo, yo, yo. Welcome to WNS9 Plus, our MLB Draft Show preview. I'm your host, Anthony DiNardo. With me, of course, we have Tyler, we have Jim, and we have a special guest, once again, Jim Callis from MLB. Jim, welcome back to the show.
Thanks. I'm sorry I couldn't convince you guys to talk Steelers quarterbacks like we were before we went live, but I enjoy talking drafts, so that'll be fun also.
You know, you did have 53 seconds into the show. We're convinced. Let's talk.
I would say you did have a theory about the Steelers quarterbacks. If you want to share.
We're gonna keep that quiet. We'll only reveal that.
Okay.
You guys are
All
my
right.
witnesses. If that turns out to be true, I don't need Aaron Rodgers being angry at me and call me out on the Pat McAfee show. But we'll see. We'll see
like
if that's
it.
true. I want credit.
I like it. Well, DiNardo just bounced, so I don't know where he's going. So we'll just start things off here. But no, thanks for hopping on, Jim Callis from MLB.com. Been on with us the past few years, and yeah, a lot of pressure because as we were talking about before, we're 2 for our last 2 on predicting the Pirates picks. You nailed the Skeens pick, you nailed the Griffin pick. This one's a little bit tougher, as you were saying before, and we'll get to why. But really, just to kind of set things up, Pirates have the number 6 overall pick this year. This draft class is a whole lot different than last year's. Last year, you had tons and tons of college bats coming out. Seemed like that was what everybody was talking about. Had a few top end of the rotation arms. This year, you've got a lot of college arms. You've got some high school bats. And then there's a couple of college kids sprinkled in there as well. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Pirates, like I said, they're drafting 6th overall with a $14.08 million bonus pool. So they got some money to play with. But what's kind of the biggest thing that you've seen as far as just the difference between this year's draft and last year's draft class, especially picking it like number 6 where the Pirates are?
Yeah, especially I'd say if you compare it to the last 2 drafts, in 23 and 24, we had a number of guys who in a lot of years you'd be like, oh man, that guy's a slam dunk number 1 pick. I mean, going back to 23, you had Paul Skeens, you had Dylan Cruz, you had Wyatt Langford, you had Max Clark, you had Walker Jenkins. All 5 of those guys would be the number 1 pick this year, probably. And then last year you had even more. You had, just in the order they were taken, you had Travis Bazzana, Chase Burns, who's already in the big leagues, Charlie Condon, Nick Kurtz, who's already in the big leagues, Hagen Smith, Jack Caglione is already in the big leagues, JJ Weatherholt, who's from, I believe, the Pittsburgh area, but is a Ravens fan, so I still hold that against him as a Steelers fan. You know, and it was crazy. I mean, so like, unlike this year, nobody's separated themselves from the pack. Like, it may look a little misleading because we keep having Ethan Holiday number. We just updated our draft prospect list again, and we expanded it to 250. And Ethan Holiday was number 1 coming into the season, and we've updated it 3 times since then, and he's been number 1 every time. So I think some fans look at that and they're like, oh man, Ethan Holiday, you know, rock solid number 1, you know. And it's more, no, we just kind of feel like he's the best player, but he hasn't separated himself. And you have this kind of big first tier, you know, you like, you could maybe separate the guys from the upper half and lower half tier, but just in the order we have them on our draft list right now, there's Ethan Holiday, high school shortstops. You have Ethan Holiday, Eli Willits, Billy Carlson, and JoJo Parker. College pitchers, you have Kate Anderson, Jamie Arnold, Liam Doyle, Kaisen Witherspoon. You've got Ivar Arquette is the only college bat we have in the top 10. And then Seth Hernandez is the only high school pitcher we have in the top 10. And there's a lot of teams that, you know, just are scared of taking a high school pitcher, especially a high school right-hander that high in the draft. And I don't know if you could claim with straight face that all 10 of those guys, you could make a case for going number 1. But I think you can make a case for 6 or 7 of them at least. And it just makes it harder. I don't think I'm getting this Pirates pick right because you can only like the only 2 guys I think have no shot to get to them are Ethan Holiday, who I think the Nationals will take 1, and if they don't, I think it's the biggest lock in the draft is the Rockies would take him at 4. I think everybody thinks that in baseball. And if they somehow didn't, the Cardinals would take him at 5. So Ethan Holiday can't get to the Pirates. And then Kate Anderson, who's coming off, being College World Series most outstanding player and winning a national title, he could go number 1. I don't know if there's a favorite to go number 1. I feel like it's him or Ethan Holiday at 1. He could go 1. He's in the mix at 2. And then I think if he didn't go in the top 2 picks, I feel like he'd be the first choice at 3, the first choice at 4, and the first choice. Well, maybe not the first choice at 4 for the Rockies with Holiday. He'd be the first choice at 3, maybe the second choice at 4, and the first choice at 5. But other than that, I think you can make there are different scenarios. What if teams cut deals? What if guys get pushed up? That there's a scenario where every other player in the draft could be there at 6. Whereas last year when the Pirates were picking 9th, I felt like we could cross off the majority, all those guys I ticked off. I think there were 7 guys I ticked off as potential number 1 picks. Like at most, maybe one of them would get to 9, and that would only be if a couple teams cut deals and push guys down. But this year, I feel like cross off 2 guys, and the Pirates could have a shot at anybody else.
So let's start with, I guess, the guys who are in play. We'll cross Holiday and we'll cross Anderson off. We'll just say, you know what, those 2 aren't going to be there. But then let's go down the board. I mean, would you say that the Pirates pool to pick from is essentially Hernandez, Arnold, Willett, Arquette, Carlson, Doyle, Parker? Is that it? Is that kind of where it ends at, or is it possible we could kind of go past
Witherspoon?
On
maybe
the
like maybe Witherspoon could be in there too. Like it's funny because I think not that teams talk about the draft publicly, but kind of behind the scenes, if you're getting some intel out of Pittsburgh, it's basically like we haven't eliminated anybody yet. And like I do feel like with some of the other teams ahead of them, like there's certain players that I know that team's not going to take, and with Pittsburgh, I don't know that. There's 4 high school shortstops there. And I think internally they may have narrowed it down a little bit. They maybe have been a little cagey with this, but again, the way the draft works, we're still trying to do the math right. 17 days away from the draft, and it behooves you as a team to sit there and be like, well, man, we like about 8 different guys here. And then you can use that as leverage on the players that, look, we don't think you're that much better than these other 5 guys. So who's willing to take less money? I mean, we saw this front office do that with the number 1 overall pick a few years ago in 21. Like, they kind of had a number and they shopped it to players. And so I get it behooves them to kind of put that out there, even if it may be completely true or it might not be. But I can't. I wish I could start like crossing some guys off, but I don't know. I don't know that I could. And then, the other thing is, if somebody cuts a deal, that pushes another guy down too. So like, it's not just. I don't think we can just say, well, 5 of those guys will be crossed off. It might be 4. It might be. There's a lot of talk. The Angels might take Liam Doyle, and Liam Doyle is very good. But we have Liam Doyle 8th on our list. He might go 2. So it's possible that, of our top 7 players on the board, our board, 5 of them or 4 of them at least might be there for the Pirates at 6. And again, depending on what order they go in, you get different scenarios where different guys are available. Yeah.
So let's kind of do this in groups then. Let's start with college arms. I mean, if we're looking at college arms, Jamie Arnold, Liam Doyle, Kaisen Witherspoon. Jamie Arnold, I've seen him quite a bit. I'm an ACC guy. I'm a Louisville fan, so I've ran into Jamie Arnold a few times. I know.
Congratulations on the College World Series, by the way.
Don't start, Jim.
It was a hell of a run. I'm curious to see where Patrick Forbes goes. I don't think he's going to go to the Pirates, but I think he finished.
He could go in the first round. He could go. If he hadn't had the flexor strain, now we're getting sidetracked. If he hadn't had the flexor strain, he was headed toward the middle of the first round. But I don't think he's going to make it to Pittsburgh's second pick.
I don't think so either. But let's start with Jamie Arnold. He's the highest rated guy that you guys have out of those college arms. Lefty, which I feel like if you're looking at just like really good fits for PNC Park, left-handed starters just typically tend to fare well there. What can you tell us about Jamie Arnold?
Yeah, I mean, he's got more track record of success than Kate Anderson does. He's got a more conventional delivery, although it's not super conventional, than Liam Doyle. I think he's got, he's compared to Kaisen Witherspoon, again, he's got longer track record and he's left-handed, and Kaisen Witherspoon's a righty. I mean, he's just been really, really good. I mean, he had back-to-back, years for Florida State where he was one of the best pitchers in the country. He's 6'1", 188, so he's not super physical, but like it's a lower arm slot with good life on the fastball, really good slider. He commands it pretty well. Change up, like it's his third pitch, so he didn't throw it a lot, but he's got the makings of a change up. And I think one thing that helps him a little bit this year is like last year, he got tired a little bit down the stretch when it got to the postseason and he wasn't at his best. And that wasn't the case this year. I actually coincidentally happened to be like an hour and a half away from Corvallis when they were out there for the Super Regional. So I went and watched him pitch, and he looked great against Oregon State, which is one of the probably 3 or 4 best lineups in the country. So with Jamie Arnold, I'd say coming into the year, if you told the Pirates, hey, Jamie Arnold will be there at 6, they wouldn't have necessarily believed it. Like coming into the year, and he hasn't done anything wrong. It's just other guys have emerged, and he still might not get there to him. But coming into the year, he was kind of him and Tyler Bremner from UC Santa Barbara were the 2 best college pitchers in the draft, and you didn't think those guys would get to 6.
Do you think it might be fair to say that with these college arms, maybe there's a little more reliever risk than there would be with the high school arms this year, or maybe I'm just off base with that?
Well, no. Compared to like if we're talking about guys they would take at 6, the only high school arm they would take at 6 is Seth Hernandez. And Seth Hernandez is pretty ridiculous because I just did a best tools list when we came out with our top 250 our night, and Seth Hernandez didn't win any category, but he was among the best. Like we went 4 deep in each category. He was among the best fastballs, the best curveballs, best changeups, and best control. Like, and he's a high school kid.
High school kid, that's impressive.
And he also has pretty good power too. He's like a 2-way guy, although he's not going to 2-way in pro ball. So yeah, I would say yes, I would agree that if looking at the guys that they would take at 6, I feel like Seth Hernandez and maybe Kate Anderson would have the high. Like Kate Anderson, it's weird. So he's the college guy, but he's really only pitched 1 year, full year as a starter in college because he had Tommy John surgery coming out of high school, and they kind of eased him in. So, but yeah, I think you could definitely make a case that Seth Hernandez has the best combination of stuff and strikes of any of those guys. And he probably has the combination, I'm making things up here, of strongest body plus conventional delivery of any of them. So yes, I think he probably has the best chance to be a starter among any of them, although Kate Anderson's right there with him.
He's like weirdly safe as a high school arm compared to the rest of them.
Yeah, it is. And I haven't heard, like, I think there's a couple teams that wouldn't necessarily take Seth Hernandez up there, but again, I haven't eliminated anybody for the Pirates. And Pirates have done, frankly, I feel like a better job of developing pitchers and hitters. Not that totally plays into what you're doing, but like if you were going to have confidence in terms of developing a pitcher versus a hitter, I'd feel better about the Pirates with a pitcher, honestly.
Yeah, and let's kind of spend a little more time on Hernandez. There was talk earlier that like Seth Hernandez could have been a number 1 overall pick, and that never happens as far as a high school pitcher goes. I guess is that just what makes him so special? Is just he's really good at a lot of things. He doesn't really seem to have a weakness, and at 18 years old, you look at that and it's just, man, you project this guy out, 3, 4, 5 years, and like the sky's the limit. Is that kind of what you're seeing with Seth Hernandez?
Yeah, and I also throw out there the high school pitchers who are kind of a cut above, they make the big leagues in a couple of years. Like he's probably, I hope I'm not forgetting somebody, but I think he's better than Hunter Green was as an amateur. Hunter Green, there was question about feel for spin. Like Hunter Green had the big fastball, but Hunter Green also had been handled very carefully and didn't pitch a lot of deep outings in high school or on the showcase circuit. So I think there's a little more question on that. When Hunter Green came out, they had me do a story. on is Hunter Green the best high school? I don't know if it was right-hander or left-hander, or high school right-hander, best high school pitching prospect of all time. And I said, like, for me, in the 30 plus years I've been doing it, it would probably be Josh Beckett. And Beckett's stuff just at the time, it's weird comparing, like, Josh Beckett was what, 1999. So that's
99. Yeah.
26 years ago, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Like, it was a different era. So a guy throwing 95 back then, like, that was like throwing 100 now. And he had one of the best high school curveballs you'd ever see. Like, I feel like
no Bobby Bradley. No Bobby Bradley. No.
There you go. I was gonna say, like, relative to his era, I feel like scouts were a little bit more reverential about Beckett than maybe they were about Seth Hernandez, but it's pretty close. And then sidebar here, it's funny just the way I don't know why this always sticks in my head, but there was one day Beckett was facing a team and, like, the number 9 hitter, like, cheated on a fastball and hit it out of the park for a home run and pimped it around the bases. And Beckett was pissed. And so next time the guy came up, he drilled him in the back, like basically between the shoulder blades, and just about killed the kid. And, like, every scout was there was like, "Oh, I love Josh Beckett. What a competitor!" like I'm telling you, anybody who scouted Beckett who was at that game, like, was like that, like, made them love Josh Beckett even more. So Beckett's still probably the standard, but Seth Hernandez is up there. But yeah, I think you can, like, he has higher upside than any of the college pitchers, and I think you could argue his floor, even though he hasn't pitched in college, you could argue his floor might be higher than all of them too. Because again, I think he's got the best arsenal and best all around arsenal of any of them. He's got 3 pitches, and they're all really good. And he's got a slider too. He throws strikes pretty much as well as any of them. And like I said, he's got good size and it's a good delivery. So you could argue, outside of, oh, he's scary because he's a high school righty, that his floor might be as high as any of them too.
Coming into this show, I thought, at what point do we compare Hernandez to Josh Beckett? Because every high school arm with a curveball and fastball gets compared to Josh Beckett, it feels like. Is that a thing? Like, we just compare every high schooler to Josh Beckett, though?
Well, I think what you're talking about, like, the guys who are cut above, like, it's like it's like with Paul Skeens. You're going to compare Paul Skeens to Steven Strasburg, and if you want to go back further, we're going to throw Mark Pryor in there. And I think it's kind of the same thing. You know, there have been other high school right-handers who've gone, like,
Jameson Tyon's the other thought I had. Like, I remember the Josh Beckett.
Tyon was a good one, but Tyon wasn't like Beckett. Like Tyon was good, but that was close enough, and people were like, no, like, that's not like because that was like what, 2010?
10, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 11 years later. So a lot of scouts were still around, and they're like, no, like, Tyon was really good, but he wasn't Beckett. But yeah, I just think if you have a guy who's, like, clearly cut above, you start thinking Josh Beckett. Like, if you want to, high school curveball, Kerry Wood. Kerry Wood was pretty ridiculous too. But like I said, it's funny. Like, I know it's not the only reason, and it does sound kind of mean, but, like, Josh Beckett almost throwing a fastball through the guy's back. Like, the scouts over there, like, oh, I love me some Josh Beckett. Like, they still tell that story. So
I secretly probably would have as well.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that is
my other
awesome.
question was actually going to be, how long would it take? I know he does throw a slider now, and you saw it a little bit this spring, but how long will it take for the Pirates to just make him throw a slider and kind of put the curveball on the back burner? Because it does seem like the Pirates love that slider and the fastball combination.
I know, but the curveball's so good.
Is it?
To me, I like fastball. I mean, it depends on how good the pitch is, but I almost like fastball curve better because everybody wants the fastball that rides and explodes at the top of the zone. And so let's drop a curveball down through the bottom of the zone. Like, if slider, like, it's not changing the eye level as much. I mean, that's oversimplified, but I don't know. I would like to think that he's got a really, really good curveball that they would, the Pirates, whoever takes him, isn't going to say, hey, we prefer sliders. You got to let them keep throwing the curve.
Sticking with pitchers here, Liam Doyle, you've got at number 8, another lefty from Tennessee. What makes him similar to Arnold? What makes him different from Arnold?
Yeah, so, like, he probably has the most explosive fastball in the draft. He was second in the nation in strikeouts, in part because they didn't go to Omaha and Cade Anderson did. So Cade Anderson had a few more than he did. But he led the nation in strikeouts per 9, and he throws fastball a lot. Like I don't have the final usage in front of me. It was like about 70% of the time, and he could touch 100, and it's got ride and run, and it's just guys can't lay off of it and they can't hit it. And it's like, I don't think his secondary pitches are that bad. It's just when you're in college baseball and you're trying to win, and literally almost everybody you face can't touch the fastball. He just focused on fastball. So I think he doesn't have as good a secondary pitch as the other pitchers we're talking about, partially because he hasn't used it. I think the biggest question you have with Liam Doyle is if you look at video of him pitching, it's not the pejorative it used to be when you say, oh, guy has reliever risk, because guys aren't pitching 9 innings anymore. You get to the postseason, and it's like everybody narrows their pitching staff down to about 6 guys they trust, and you need relievers. Or, like before 25 years ago, if you're like, oh, that guy might be a reliever, that was bad. Now, if a guy might be a reliever, well, he might be pitching 3 innings and filling in on a day where your starter went 4 and coming up big in the playoffs. So I think there's more reliever risk with Liam Doyle because it's just his operation and the tempo of his operation. It's hard to find a big league starter who does it like that. So I think that's a concern. Now, that said, there's so much talk. There's been talk, it seems like all spring, that and maybe we're oversimplifying it, but we're kind of not. The Angels want somebody who can get to the big leagues quickly. Like that seems to be like the thing they draft. And we've heard the Angels with Doyle time and time again. And there's also some thought that if Doyle doesn't go 2, maybe he goes 6 to 10. And so maybe that lets the Angels cut a little bit better deal with him too. If they like him, they can have their cake and eat it too. So my gut, if Anderson goes 1, I think Doyle goes 2. If Holiday or say Arquette goes 1, I'm not sure what the Angels would do. But I kind of suspect I wouldn't cross him off 100%, but I kind of suspect the Pirates aren't going to get a shot at Liam Doyle necessarily.
And then lastly, you said Kaisen Witherspoon probably in the mix as well. Right-hander from Oklahoma, the youngest out of all the college arms, I think.
I think that's right. The guys we're talking about. And he's got a twin brother who was at Oklahoma with him. And he's got, he's up to 99. I had forgotten I'd done this. I'm looking at my report on him. I gave him a 60 curveball, 60 slider, and 60 cutter. So he can spin it too. 45 changeup, probably 50 control. Like it's interesting. Like you hear on him, like it's not the cleanest arm action in the world. Like if you were ranking deliveries of the college pitchers, you would go Anderson, Arnold, Witherspoon, Doyle in that order. And he's the only right-hander. And like one of the knocks, like when you start nitpicking these guys, is his fastball shape isn't optimal. And I'm not comparing him to this guy, but I think we talked about this 2 years ago. People are like, oh, Paul Skeens, it doesn't have good fastball shape. And then whenever people said it, I would laugh because it was more writers. It wasn't so much scouts. It's like the guy's throwing 98 for 9 innings and he commands it. Like you don't have to have good fastball shape if you're throwing or premium fastball shape if you're throwing 98 and you can put the ball where you want. And I'm not saying Kaisen's in that class, but it's kind of the same thing. Like he has good fastball command and he throws up to 99 miles an hour. It's a lot of 95, 94, 95, 96, 97. So he can get away with it a little bit more. I feel like he's more on the back burner. It would surprise me a little bit, and we have him ranked 10th among the 10 guys we're discussing. It would surprise me a little bit if Pittsburgh took Kaisen Witherspoon. Like to me, for that to happen, I would almost have to think that somehow all the other pitchers we discussed were off the board. Like 4 of the first 5 picks were pitchers, and I don't think that's going to happen.
I guess to flip this here to like college hitters who I guess as a Pirates fan, I would think if baseball were to draft for need, the Pirates would draft a college hitter just because need-wise they need hitters. So let's jump into a few of these guys. Arquette's the guy you mentioned. A couple guys up here that Ike Irish. I love that bat. Can you talk a little bit about
It might be the best
Irish?
bat in college baseball. It might be the best all-around bat in college baseball. And I was updating his scouting report the other day. I think he finished second or third in the SEC in terms of batting average and conference game. Like, I had to pick who the best hitter was in college, best hitter in the draft was. I was going back and forth because a lot of people, well, not a lot of people, but some were saying Gavin Keelan from from Tennessee, possibly could be the best hitter. And if you look in SEC, I think Ike Irish out-hit him by like 100 points in SEC play. Ike Irish hit 13 homers in 28 SEC games. And yeah, it's we have Ike Irish ranked 11th. You know, there's a world where Ike Irish doesn't even get to 6. If somebody cuts it, like, not that he doesn't deserve to go high in the draft, but I think he's kind of positioned if somebody's like, I'm not sure where I want to go here, I'd like to cut a deal. You might be able to cut a bigger deal like Irish than some of these other guys we're talking about. But I do think he's probably the best all-around, bat in terms of hitting for average, hitting for power, controlling the strike zone, drawing walks. I think he's the best offensive player. Now, I don't think he's going to be a catch. I don't think he wants to catch. He hasn't caught a lot at Auburn. Yeah. And the thing is, I think he had such a good year that starting, 4 or 6 weeks ago, just talking to people, they're like, you know what? I don't even care if he can catch. I think we're better off just putting this guy in the outfield and letting the bat be as good as it could be and just letting him rake. And I think that whoever takes him will probably do that. But like, he'd be interesting. And then Arquette, 6'5", power hitting shortstop. You don't see too many 6'5" shortstops. I will say he moves pretty well. Like, I think he could be. I mean, I guess in Pittsburgh you're used to 6'7" shortstops, right? Right. For a while, but like he plays it well enough. Like, I think in the long run you'd probably want a better defensive shortstop in the big leagues. He's probably getting an average defender at short, and most teams want a better than average defender at short. But I think he could be an average defender at short. There's a little bit of swing and miss, not terrible. We're not talking, like crazy chase or crazy swing and miss, but it's going to be a power over hit 6'5" shortstop. And I think I've given Arquette to the Pirates all 3 mock drafts I've done this spring. And it's funny, Jonathan Mayo just came out with one for us today. So I have one next week. And I don't know, I could see Arquette going 1 or 3. I don't know that he could go 4. Like, I don't have a great feel for where he goes. Like, I could see, I mean, obviously I could see him being Pittsburgh's pick because I've done that so many times in a row.
So when you say, I mean, you have mocked him to Pittsburgh often. So I guess what is it out there that leads you to believe that the Pirates are like really, really in on Arquette? Or is it really just you think the Pirates are going to take the best person available, and whenever you're doing your mocks, he just happens to be the best person available?
Yeah, it's more the latter. It's that, like, the various scenarios I've done I think I've had Holiday going ahead of him every time, Arnold going ahead of him every time, Anderson going ahead of him every time. I think I had Seth Hernandez in 2 of the 3 mocks ahead of him. And you get to a point too where when you're doing a mock, like when I do a mock, especially on the last one, but like I try to lay out the possibility. You're not going to get every pick right, but like my goal is to say, hey, this team's looking at these players, and hopefully on draft day, when I do my final mock, if I don't get the pick right, I've at least for most of the teams said, hey, they're looking. The guy they take is one of the guys I mentioned. But when you're doing a mock too, you get to a point where you're like, man, I got to get this guy off the board. Like I need to find a home for him. He's like, and here's the other thing. Like, not that it means Pittsburgh's taking him, but I don't really hear Iva Arquette anywhere behind Pittsburgh, which means everybody thinks he's off the board. So if in my scenario, I don't have him going the top 5 picks and he's the best player on our board, and I'm like, he needs to get off. I need to find a home for him. It's more been that than, hey, I think Justin Horowitz really likes Iva Arquette or Ben Cherington or Steve Saunders or whoever, all the people who are making the decision. It's been more, I can't eliminate anybody for him, and he's the best guy on the board, and I need to put him somewhere. So that's where he's going.
I guess between the two, Arquette and Irish, it's pretty safe to assume that Irish is the better bat. Arquette maybe a little more value there. Is that kind of what we're looking at?
Yeah. I think Arquette probably has more power. I think Irish is a better hitter. He probably controls the strike zone a little bit more. And then you're talking about the value of a shortstop or at worst a third baseman versus a right fielder. But Ike Irish has really closed the gap. Like I said, if Ike Irish went in the top 5 picks, yes, I'm sure it would be at a discount. He wouldn't be getting full slot, but he's really, really good. And it's funny because I felt that way even like 6 weeks ago, just talking to people. Like everybody talks about how like this is a very weird crop of college position players because it's easy to find a question mark on just about everybody in the crop. We're not sitting here going Bazzana, Condon, Caglione, Weatherholt, Christian Moore's in the big leagues. Cam Smith went almost straight to the big league. Like all those guys would be the top position player taken this year. Easy. Like even Cam Smith went 14 last year, I think. So it's just different. But I remember saying like Irish might be the best all around offensive player in the college game. And like over the last 6 weeks, I have more and more people are like, yeah, I think you're right. I think he is the best. So I think he's going to go really good. He'd be a nice pick at 6.
Before we kind of get into scenarios, because like you mentioned, if you take a pick like Irish, that sets you up for later in the draft. So we'll talk about kind of
go get Bubba Chandler when you're later.
Yeah, pick. We'll talk about kind of what that all looks like. I guess let's shift to the high school bats. Billy Carlson, Eli Willett, JoJo Parker. Those are kind of the main 3. I would say outside Holiday, who won't be there. We've already established.
Yeah, I don't think there's any chance. Yeah.
First off, how good is Corona High School? My gosh.
Well, they didn't win the state championship, or they didn't win their district, or whatever.
How does that happen?
I don't know. You have 2 guys who could be top 10 picks, 2 other guys who, I don't know how their signability will line up where they're going to get drafted, but I don't know. Like, I would think a team like that would win the championship. Although I remember way back when Scott Casimir and Clint Everett were on the same Cypress Ranch, getting I don't know, whatever high school was in Texas. And, if Scott Casimir had been taller, he would have been probably one of the first picks in the draft. He wound up going 15th, Cypress Falls, and Clint Everett wound up going 5th to the Expos. And I don't even think they went very far in the Texas State playoffs. And I remember asking, like, how does that happen? How did anybody score a run? And they're like, the rest of the team's pretty bad. So, yeah, go figure. Corona did not win their – California's a goofy playoff system, but they did not win their region, I believe.
Tyler, how would the Lisbon Blue Devils have done against Seth Hernandez and Billy Carlson?
I'm going to go out on a limb and say there would have been a no-hitter. And it would have been your Blue Devils with a no-hitter.
So Lisbon's going to no-hit Corona. That's what you're saying?
Exactly. That's the way it's going to go. Naturally.
So
they
I guess
let's win the region. Come on.
Yeah, that's true, man. So I guess when you look at high school shortstop, Pirates fans are immediately thinking, "Oh, Connor Griffin," right? Like that's the thing that pops in their head. Let's compare these 3 to Griffin. Would you coming out of high school, are any of these 3 better than Griffin? Are any of the are like what's the separator there? I know this class is completely different than last year's, but let's compare him to what we know. So I guess you've got Eli Willett at number 5, the number 5 prospect, shortstop from Oklahoma, 17 years old, switch hitting shortstop. Let's kind of start with him. Like what makes him the number 1 guy out of that batch?
Yeah, I was gonna say it's tough comparing these guys to Connor Griffin. Because from a tool standpoint, Connor beats them all. Like as I said last year, Connor Griffin's like if he hits his ceiling, he had the best ceiling in last year's draft, even over all the college guys. If Connor Griffin reaches his ceiling, he's a 30-30 guy who's either a plus shortstop or a Gold Glover in center field. And now the question is, like I said, we talked about this last year. The Pirates were picking 9th, and I honestly believe I don't even remember who the one exception was. 7 to 8 teams ahead of him, I think had enough questions about Griffin's swing that they probably would have taken Bryce Rayner, the other high school shortstop, over Connor Griffin. So from a tools standpoint, it's easily Connor Griffin over any of these guys. But if you're one of those teams who are like, I don't think that swing's going to play, you might argue that you take all these guys because if you don't hit, that's a problem. But with Eli, Eli gets overshadowed a little bit because he's in Oklahoma and Holiday's there. He's not even the best high school shortstop in Oklahoma. But you could make a case, if you were building a case for taking Eli Willett high in the draft, your case could be that there's a possibility he could be the best all-around player in the draft when everything is said and done, which, I think the one question is how much is it 15 homer power? Is it 20 homer power? But, I mean, this is a guy who reclassified. He's 7. He won't be 18 until December. And I'm not a big age guy in the draft, like in terms of like, oh, I can't draft a 19-year-old. Don't give me Bobby Wood Jr. He's too old. But like he's 17 years old. He should be a high school junior. He like Holiday, he grew up around the game. His father, Reggie, played in the big leagues, coaches at Oklahoma, University of Oklahoma. And okay, so he's a switch hitter. He's one of the best high school bats in the draft. I think it's going to be at least 15 homer power. Maybe it's 20. He's a plus runner. It's a solid arm. It's a solid shortstop. He's no doubt shortstop, although you could put him in center field also. And he's got high baseball IQ, great instincts, nonstop motor. Again, I put a lot, like it's almost become a cliche, but it's true. Like the Bloodlines guys have an advantage because they grew up around the game. They were coached great most of the time from a very young age. And those guys just are not fazed by anything in pro ball. It's like, hey, you're going to be riding a bus in A ball. Like they're fine with it. Like none of it phases them. So anyway, I really like Eli Willett. Like he got some Anthony Volpe comparisons, but with better tools coming out at the same stage of their careers. And again, if you want to knock him, you might be like, I'm not sure how much, power, but I think he's going to be pretty well put together. And I bet he gets to at least 15 homers. So that would be your case for taking Eli Willett. And again, any of these guys with Connor Griffin, if you were a Connor Griffin naysayer, you'd be like, well, Eli Willett has a 60 bat and Connor Griffin has a 40 bat. So I'll bet on the guy who's 2 grades better hitter. Now, I wouldn't necessarily say Connor Griffin's a 40 bat, but there were teams who were like, I just don't think that swing's going to play. And so far it's played pretty well.
Yeah.
So would you say that Willets would be the highest upside of those high school bats, at least of the top ranking guys, or?
Well, I don't think he's
JoJo
Parker. I don't think he is. I think JoJo Parker has a higher offensive ceiling. I think he's kind of the Ike Irish of the high school shortstops, and I think he's the best offensive player in terms of. I think JoJo Parker is going to hit. I think it's going to be 20, 25, 30 home runs. He's getting more physical, so he's probably a third baseman if you were being honest long term. He's probably a third baseman. But I think JoJo Parker, there's so many good shortstops. We're not even talking about guys like Casey Cunningham or Daniel Pierce or Steele Hall. There's a bunch of them. And so, Willett's hook, so Holiday, who the Pirates are going to get, he's got the best power of anyone. He's probably got the best power in the draft. Willett's hook is he has the best all-around game of any of them. Parker's hook is he's probably the best all-around offensive player of them, but he probably winds up moving to third base. He's already 6'2", 200, and he's an average runner. So I think he probably winds up at third base.
I didn't include Ethan Holiday because I just assume him off the board.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, if you're stacking them up. Like Steele Hall, who we're not talking about, is the fastest player of all of them. Daniel Pierce might be the second best all-around player of all of them. Cunningham, there were guys who thought he was the best hitter in the whole high school class last summer on the showcase circuit. So everybody kind of has their thing they can hang their hat on.
Love it.
So now you're going to ask me about Billy Carlson.
Yeah. So Carlson.
Well, with Billy Carlson, their scouts will tell you he's the best high school defensive shortstop they've seen in their whole life. So he's like a 70 defender. Now, here's the question about Billy Carlson is people don't like his swing, but it's weird. So we went through this with Connor Griffin, but with Carlson's case, they feel like, oh, this is easily fixable. He just needs to get somebody who can fix his swing, and they could be an average hitter with 20 homer power. But he might have more bat risk than any of these guys, kind of like Connor Griffin, but in different. Like it's weird with Connor Griffin, they're just people are like that swing's just not going to work. I can't do it. With Billy Carlson, I get people are like, like right now with that swing, you project him as a 40 hitter on the 20/80 scale, but like it's an easy fix. So I don't quite get that. Like, I mean, there's more nuance to it. The simplistic version sounds kind of weird, but it's his defense, and so like. You're thinking when you draft him, you're getting a Gold Glove shortstop, and he's gonna hit 20 homers. And if you got a Gold Glove shortstop, and let's say he hit 230 with 20 homers, that's still a really good player.
That's a really good player.
He also apparently pumps mid-90s on the bump.
Yeah, like he and Seth Hernandez. I mean, they're not going to two-way, but yeah, he's up to 97 on the mound, and Seth Hernandez has well above average raw power.
They make these people in a lab anymore.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Would you almost put like? I mean, I'm just trying to think of like a shortstop that kind of fits that profile, like Tovar, almost like.
I guess, yeah.
I mean,
possibly.
You know.
And again, like it's weird. Like there's just like last year, most teams like were just like, oh man, I just don't know about Connor's swing. The people I talked to this year, Carlson, are like, it's a pretty easy fix. It's like, okay, like it's to me.
Yeah.
It would scare me a little bit if I took a guy and I felt like I had to do a swing makeover. If I took him in the top 10 or at 6, I mean, I'm not a hitting guru, but like people, like I said, I've had multiple people say he's the best high school defensive shortstop they've ever seen.
So going back to the strategy piece, Pirates have $14 million to spend. Is this a draft? Are there guys who you see falling who it may be a good strategy to take Irish at 6, cut a deal with him, spend money in the second round? Like, is this a good draft to use that strategy, or in your opinion, should you just take the best guy available here?
Well, I feel like it's deeper than it is top heavy.
Okay.
I always believe you have to take the guy you think is the best player. Now, you can sometimes have your cake and eat it too, where the Cubs took Kyle Schwarber at 4, and that surprised a lot of people. And they did the same thing with Cade Horton at 7, but they legitimately liked the player in that spot, and then saving money was like an added bonus. The problem, and I say this all the time, like, and you guys aren't asking this like some crazy, like I'll get crazy fans. I'll just make one up here. Like, oh, I'm a Marlins fan. What if, they save money at 7 and then we'll get Seth Hernandez at pick 46. And it's like, or like they'll come up with these scenarios. The problem where you do the discount and then we're going to push the guy down. So if I'm the Pittsburgh Pirates, I don't pick again until 50, right?
Yeah, it's late. They don't have any
pick
comp
50
picks there.
And so there literally are teams. I don't have the exact number here in my head, but there's at least it's probably half the teams in baseball are going to have their second pick, and some teams are going to have their third pick before the Pirates pick again. So unless, and no drafts are like this, unless the Pirates have a list of like 12 guys that they're comfortable with taking at 50 for over slot, you can't guarantee that the guy's going to get to you. Like you just can't. But that said, I mean, they're going to have money to play with anyway. Like they have a $14 million pool. So they go the 5% overage, which they've done some years. That's like an extra $700,000. And then you could also push money around. So, I mean, they could go, I think, to $3 million pretty easy with that player by shifting money around if they took just a guy for slot at 6. And maybe, again, let's say we'll take what we've been hearing on face value, like they think all these guys are pretty much close together. Well, then you figure out like, okay, which of these guys might go 10th and the slot at 10, 6.2. And we like that guy as much as anybody. And we'll split the difference and sign him for like 6.8. Like, but all that said, you should take the best available player. It's funny. It goes back to the first draft of the bonus pool, 2012. And everybody gives the Astros credit for being geniuses. And look, they had a good draft. And they took Correa at 1, and they took Lance McCullers Jr. With their supplemental first-round pick. And everybody's like, oh, man, what a great move to take Correa. And, that could afford Lance McCullers Jr. If they'd taken – Correa turned down their low ball offer initially. And they kind of screwed up because Correa might have gone 2 if he hadn't gone 1. And that wasn't a good deal for Correa. But anyway – when Correa initially turned down the money it was initially offered him, they were going to take Buxton. Would have been the backup plan at that point. Mark Appel was also in the mix, and Buxton would have signed for 6. If they signed Buxton for $6 million, you still could get Lance McCullers where they got him and pay him what you did. Like, it's not like it's great to dream. And I know, again, I'm not calling you guys out, but I see, and there's one writer who I won't mention, who's written the same story twice for two different outlets about, oh, some team could just go 25 million on the draft. And it's like, sure, but the other teams aren't going to sit there and just say, oh, $25 million team, take all the players. They're just going to take the guys. Like you can't, even if you want to do that, you can't get the other teams to say, oh, like even if you had, I'll go back in time. Let's go back to time 2023. Let's say Paul Skeens said, oh, I only want to be a Yankee. I won't sign if I'm not a Yankee. Somebody would have said, you know what, I'm calling his bluff. Like, we'll call him, we'll offer him $9 million. He's not turning that down. And that's the thing. Like, with these guys at the top of the draft, like, you may get somebody that, like, the Pirates, like, okay, we're going to flip this guy down to 50 and we'll give him, I don't know how they do it, say $5 million. And, like, I might be picking at 32. And it's like, you know what? Like, okay, I talk to agent, like, don't draft him. Don't draft him. Pirates are giving him $5 million. And I'll be like, you know what? I'm picking 32. We're going to offer your guy 3. I don't think he's going to turn it down. And if he does, we get the pick back next year. What's your guy going to do? So, like, you just can't count. They don't pick quick enough, again, to make that your strategy. Like, that. That's why. And I'm not trying to call the Pirates out here, but, like, that's what they did in 2021. And they didn't get a very good number 1 overall pick as a result of it. And, again, like Henry Davis – look, I mean, we probably had him ranked in our top 5. It's not like they made Henry Davis up. But instead of taking, Marcelo Meyer, who I believe we had ranked as the top player in the draft, which they could have done, or they could take Jordan Lawler. Like, they offered other players, I think, the money that they offered Henry Davis. And, yeah, they got Bubba Chandler. But they also – I mean, you could still found a way to get Bubba Chandler and do it at the top. Like, maybe you don't get Lonnie White Jr., or whatever. But
I've said this many times where it's like you could have drafted Jordan Lawler and still gotten Bubba Chandler. Like, you could have figured a way to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe you don't get Bishop there at the end, whatever.
Yeah, like there's a way, like you have to make some choices, but like that to me is why I get what you're trying to do. Like, again, that was a weird draft where it wasn't like, oh man, there's this slam dunk number 1 guy. But like, to me, and I always say, I will preface this, it's easy for me to say stuff or say team should do this, team should do that, because it's not my money. If I've got the wrong guy, like if the Pirates, like whoever we have at the top of our board, let's say I was running the Pirates and then that was the guy, like, let's say that guy's terrible. My boss isn't going to come to me and say, you just cost us $6 million. What are you doing? Or, hey, you've had a couple, you've blown the draft 2 years in a row. You're fired. I just get to sit here and report on it. So it's a lot less stakes, but like I do, that is one of my firm beliefs. I've never put together a list of my draft manifesto, but one, I would never eliminate or target a specific demographic. You have to scout the players. That's one. 2, I wouldn't rule guys out because of age. Like, it's a factor. Like, sure, if there's a 19-year-old and he's as good as an 18-year-old, then maybe I'd lean the 18-year-old. But like Bobby Witt Jr., pretty good player at 19. Like Manny Ramirez, pretty good player. Like, there's a bunch of good 19-year-old high school players. And then 3, like with my first pick, I got to take who I think is the best one. Now, if it's a guy who I legitimately think I can't sign, or let's say I'm picking 22 and somebody's fallen because some team's going to get, like, it's twice what I can afford. Okay, I get that. But like, I think you got to take who you think is the best player. And in the Pirates defense, I just banged on him for Henry Davis. Paul Skeens, they did that. Connor Griffin, they did that. So, but yeah, I think you have to do it that way. Otherwise, you just wind up, you can regret the player you took the discount on. And then more often than not, the guy you wanted to get to your next pick doesn't get to you.
Anyone who we haven't mentioned who like could go 6, just kind of out of the blue.
I don't think so. I mean, I don't know why they would do this necessarily, but like I mentioned all those other high school shortstops like Steele Hall and Daniel Pierce and Kaisen Cunningham. Like maybe that they like one of those guys a lot and you could entertain, but I just think there's going to be better shortstops. Like, as much as I like those guys, I'd rather have Willets or Parker or Carlson. And depending on who you take too, if you go to the draft combine and you consent to taking a physical, a team has to offer you 75% of slot. So in the Pirates case, I think they'd have to offer somebody at least like $5.7 million if they took the physical. So I don't know, maybe, but it's too far-fetched. Like, to me, and I don't know specifically if they're on Irish, but like, Irish can make sense. Looking at our list, like I don't, like I said before, I don't see him taking Kaisen. I don't know what happened there with my golden retrievers. Kaisen Witherspoon, I'd have a hard time seeing them taking him over the other pitchers we mentioned, unless they were all gone in the first 5. Like, unless the top 5 picks are, what's going on? Ethan Holiday and all 4 pitchers went. I don't think they take Kaisen Witherspoon. So I think they probably take one of the first 9 guys on our board.
Okay.
And realistically, I think they take one of the top. I'm not saying our board's how they have it lined up. I feel like they probably take one of the top 6. It won't be Holiday or Anderson, but I feel like it's Hernandez, Arnold, Willett, Arquette. Like, we'll see. And who did we say Jonathan Mayo gave him in his last mock?
Carlson.
Well, so there you go. So he totally disagrees with me. so who knows? Like, yeah, I bet they get one of the top 6 or 7 guys on our board.
Hey, I'm hanging my hat on Ike Irish. I'm staking the claim on that one.
I think he might be gone before the Pirates even get a chance to take him.
Hey.
If I were doing a mock today,
Yeah, so let's do a live mock.
Let's do it.
Right here.
live mock. Okay, live mock.
Mock.
I'm gonna go not influenced by Jonathan Mayo's mock. I'm going Kate Anderson 1 to the Nationals. So then I'm gonna go Liam Doyle number 2 to Liam Doyle number 2 to the Angels.
Mhm. Mariners next, yeah.
The Mariners is tough. Like I almost have too much intel that it conflicts. I think they would take Kate Anderson if he's there, but he's not there. I'm gonna go Seth Hernandez at 3. We're blowing this up. Seth Hernandez 3.
Okay, all right.
So then I'm going Ethan Holiday 4, Ike Irish 5.
Mhm.
Ike Irish 5 to the Cardinals. You cannot have Ike Irish. So now I've taken 1, 2, 3.
Taking all my picks.
So that means we've got
So, wait a
Arnold,
minute.
Willett, Arquette, Carlson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Arnold, Willett, Arquette. See, that's going to be tough. I have no idea who they're picking out of that. Because this is the same exact thing that happens to me every time. Well, you know what? I'm just going to stay on brand. I'm just going to give him Ivar Arquette again. And I'm just going to ride that horse all the way to draft day. Like, because again, like, I'll give him Ivar Arquette. Because again, I don't know who they prefer out of that group. I'll give them Ivar Arquette because I think Willits makes a lot of sense for the Marlins right behind him. Although it'd be interesting if Jamie Arnold's there. Do you turn down Jamie Arnold? Again, you're not drafting for need.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've talked myself into Ivar Arquette yet again
For the 4th time.
On the 20th.
Now we'll play this a little differently. If we go
Yeah.
Anderson 1, Doyle 2, Arquette 3, Holiday 4, Irish 5, then I'd kind of be tempted to give him Seth Hernandez at 6.
So you
Because I don't think they're afraid. Like not the teams are afraid, but we talked about this a couple of years ago. Their teams are like maybe not as much as they would, but there's still teams like, oh, you can't take a pitcher 1-1. It's like, it's Paul Skeens, dude. You can take Paul Skeens 1-1. And similarly, like I said, Griffin, that was a ceiling play. Like that, he had the best tools in the draft, but he also came with probably more risk than just about anybody, than anybody in the top 10 picks. And they did that. So I feel like the Pirates would not be afraid to take Seth Hernandez at 6. So that will be mock draft B. So they get Seth Hernandez.
So mock draft A, Arquette, mock draft B, Hernandez.
And that's with no great deal of conviction.
Yeah.
I guess just a follow-up question on that with the Connor Griffin draft pick last year and being more upside. With Horowitz being kind of in charge of his second draft year, do you think that's something that he might be pushing more towards as a higher upside type of draft pick instead of the Henry Davis save money, spread it out route?
Maybe, although, I mean, honestly, when you're talking about like the modern day draft and when you're talking about picks at the top of the draft, these guys are going to get $6 or $7 million. I don't think there's a lot of teams where it's just the scouting director saying, okay, here's our guy. Like, I think it's a collaborative effort between the GM, his closest confidants, and the scouting director. So I don't think it's just I mean, no pressure on Horowitz. He's got to go out and get another Connor Griffin. But I don't think it's just his call. I don't think if he's like, okay, guys, here's who we're picking. I don't think that's the way it's set up. to be. I don't think, not that they don't trust him. I'm not trying to play that, but I don't feel like Ben Cherington's just like, hey, Justin, just come back to us on July 13th and tell us who we're taking. Like it doesn't work that way. So, but anyway, if you did your question, could it be the front office as a whole?
Right.
Yeah, I think so. Because again, like I said,
maybe he shift the mindset of how we're going to approach.
Oh, you mean with how he's performed? I don't know. I don't know if his performance really matters, honestly. I mean, I guess if he'd gone out and been terrible, and he's making contact and he's playing well, but at the same time, like he just got to high A, right? Like it's not like he's on the verge of the big leagues or he's in the big like. As much as I like Connor Griffin, I think he's one of the top 15 or 20 prospects in baseball right now. Like I don't feel like just because he's played well for 2+ months in the minors that the Pirates are like, okay, man, we're all ceiling all the time now. But I do think the fact that they took him last year is indicative of, hey, we'll take some risk. Like we'll take some risk to get some ceiling, I guess is the way. So I think it's more what happened last July than what's happened this spring would make me think that they'd be willing to do that.
To just shift gears here, spend just a couple minutes on some prospects in the Pirates system. Just we've been talking about them pretty much the whole show, but Connor Griffin, I mean, when we talked about him last year, that was the thing was it was just the loudest tools in the draft, and you can see all of them on display so far. I mean, he's got 11 homers, 34 stolen bases, 337 average, 536 slugging. Like he's just crushing the ball right now.
He's making contact. That's the important thing. Yeah,
contact rate kind of just keeps getting better and better too as the season goes on, and he's getting on base more. So, I mean, I've heard there's been multiple publications out there who have been like Connor Griffin's the next #1 prospect in baseball. Do we need to pump the brakes on that a little bit, or are you seeing like this guy is pretty darn special right now?
So far, it looks really good. Like I said, I mean, to me, the biggest thing, I mean, he is striking out some, but it's hovering around, 20% or so, which would be acceptable. The tools still look tremendous. I don't know if I'd say the next #1 prospect, because I look at what somebody like Sebastian Walcott is doing at the same age in AA all year, or like Leo DeVries is a year younger. He's pretty, and there's some other guys too who are exciting. So I don't know that I'm like, I'd buy Connor Griffin's on the short list of guys who you could see being the #1 prospect in baseball someday. I don't know if he's the next #1. Now, having said that, if he winds up hitting, like I guess he's on pace right now to hit what, 337 with 25 homers and close to 70 steals. Maybe I'll change my tune if he keeps that up all season. But no, he's been spectacular. He looked good. I saw him in the spring breakout game, and he looked good in that game too. He's pretty exciting. I wouldn't say pump the brakes, but I'd like to see a little more before I put him at #1.
Okay, and then Bubba Chandler, just has looked dominant at times for Indianapolis this year. Has struggled the last month or so, which is causing some people to maybe like, hey, maybe all those calls that we had to like promote him were a little too quick. Is there any reason for concern just over this last month or so of Bubba Chandler's season?
No, I mean, unless we found out there's something physical going on. I mean, yeah, his control hasn't been as sharp and his command haven't been as sharp recently. I mean, for a while, it looked like he was about the best pitcher in AAA, and he was pretty good at the end of last year, too. I mean, he's just 22 years old. He's pitching well overall in AAA. I mean, I will pump the brakes myself, where I've been saying all year, like, why don't they call this guy up? I think we might know why they hadn't called him up earlier. But now I think you got to let him have a couple good starts in a row before you promote him. But I'm not concerned. He's still, could we see? If you want to make it, like we have #2 on our top 100 prospects list, and we'll update the top of that in a week as kind of a little refresher before we overhaul the whole thing. Like if you want to argue, is Chase Burns a better prospect than Bubba Chandler at this very moment? Okay, you can argue that, sure, because Chase Burns has been on fire. But I think at worst, Bubba's the number 2 pitching prospect in baseball. So I wouldn't
Which is
be
pretty good at worst. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm saying like because I'm
I guess
looking.
I'll live with it.
We put our vote. We had to vote today on like the top 15 as like a starting point. Was we redo the whole top of the list, the top 15 players, and like so to me, I had Bubba Chandler as the second best pitching prospect. We all had Bubba Chandler second best pitching prospect. I mean, I'm still taking him over Andrew Painter, who has come off Tommy John surgery, and it's not like Painter's super dominant. As great as Jacob Mizorowski's looked, I like Bubba Chandler more long term, and I like Jacob Mizorowski. I'd take him over Noah Schultz. Like I don't know, you can't really come up with another pitcher to put. Like I said, you could maybe say Chase Burns, and that's it. I don't think you can make an argument that any other pitcher in the minors is better than him.
And then as far as like a breakout candidate, just I had a lot of questions about him before this. People wanted me to ask you about him.
Okay.
How excited should we get about Esmeralda Valdez's season in Greensboro?
I mean, it's Greensboro. I mean, that's the
It
thing.
is.
Like,
It is Greensboro. Yeah.
So I wouldn't get super crazy on a guy. Like I said, he's interesting, and it's not like he's like, I'll admit, like I've been so focused on the draft, I'm not spending a lot of time monitoring A-ball for like non-top 100 and I don't do our Pirates list, so I can't go like too crazy,
Super in depth,
yeah, on him, but you like it when you see guys at lower levels doing well. But I don't even see him. I'm looking here at I was trying to look up his. I don't think he's on our top 30 list, is he?
Yeah, he's not even on the top 30. Now he's like a first baseman, corner outfielder, but like, I don't know, led the Florida State League in homers last year at age 20, and then 19 homers right now in high A at 21. Just mashing the ball, and so was curious if you had kind of any thoughts.
Yeah, I want to say I think we had like a story. We do these one for each team stories, and we do like, I don't know, sleeper prospect to watch. And I want to say Jonathan Mayo had him on there because Jonathan does all our Pirate stuff. But yeah, it's interesting. I usually with young, and like he's not striking out too much, but he's also like it's about 24%, 25% strikeout rate, which isn't terrible. But like usually the guys that kind of come out of nowhere for me, I kind of want to see him perform in Double-A before I totally buy in. But I mean, all that said, I mean, it's exciting to have a guy. I haven't even looked at the minor league leaderboard. Is that leading the minors in home runs?
He might be. I mean, he's got to be up there.
I'm looking real quick here.
Let's see. Affiliated minor league ball. But he's tied for first. Yeah.
Okay, there you go. So yeah, it's like, it's certainly a guy to keep an eye on, but like I honestly don't know that much about him. And like I said, when the guy kind of comes out of nowhere on me, I usually trust it a little bit more when we see that performance in Double-A.
Got it.
But I mean, the guys he's tied with, I mean, Lazaro Montez, I mean, that guy's a dude. Like, so I mean, Bobby Seymour and Ryan Ward are more kind of your AAA veterans, but I mean, Lazaro Montez is, a young power hitter too. But yeah, I mean, interesting guy.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Tyler, you got any other questions for Jim?
I don't.
Wrap things up.
Just appreciate your time here.
Really, you guys ask good
excited
questions. It's fun. We went an hour without even talking about Steelers quarterbacks. So
That's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
Okay, how many wins? We real quick. How many wins? All of us. How many wins are Steelers going to win in 2013?
13-4, baby.
Really? They going to win a playoff game? Are they winning a playoff game?
Going to Super Bowl. We got Rodgers.
Okay.
I'm gonna say
I'm talking it's June. I'm talking myself into it.
I'm gonna say 10-7, and they lose in the first round.
I'm going 10-7 and lose in the first round also.
Oh, you guys are so creative.
By
Like
more
it
than
hasn't happened
by more
every
than
year.
2 touchdowns. By more than 2 touchdowns.
To the Chiefs or Bills.
One of
That
the
would be
two.
better than losing to the Ravens again.
Yeah, that's true.
Um,
That was a rough one.
Yeah.
Except we all saw it coming. So they're like, right? I mean, did any of us think that they were going to beat the Ravens?
I mean, I kind of talked myself into it at some point.
I didn't.
And
Yeah, I
Jim's a
don't think I
Lamar
did either.
Jackson fan, which just makes no sense.
I'm a big Lamar guy, Louisville, and they got Jair Alexander now too. So the Ravens keep signing my favorite players. It kills me.
You know what kills me is like they might be the best front office in football. And I went to Georgia. So it killed me when Todd Monken left Georgia. That was bad enough. And then to go to the Ravens, I was like, that's not what we need. That's not what we need.
No.
You know, Jerry Jones is too cheap to sign Derrick Henry. And he goes to the Ravens. And I do think, I'm not the only one who says it, like when you have a guy who's that dynamic a runner, it makes your running backs that much better. And Derrick Henry already is like a beast anyway. Like it's scary. I'm still mad. I didn't think he was going to be this good. I will say that. I wanted the Steelers to draft Lamar Jackson. I can't remember what year that was, but he was falling, and we took Edmonds, right?
Whatever year
Edmonds.
Baker Mayfield was.
Yep. That was 2017.
They should
sounds
take
right.
Lamar
2018?
Jackson, and then we would be where we are today.
No, was that the TJ Watt draft?
No, it was Edmonds.
No, they took Edmonds.
No,
'cause
Watt was
Ryan
60.
Shazier announced it.
Yeah.
Ryan Shazier announced it. I remember vividly.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, this would be kind of interesting. They could take a flyer here on Lamar Jackson, and they took Edmonds. So
Yeah, sadly. Well,
J.G. Weatherholt's happy, but
And then across the
That's
state,
true.
we've got the Eagles just drafting every Georgia Bulldog ever.
and they win. So
there you go. Georgia
We got
Bulldogs,
Roderick
Louisville Cardinals.
Jones.
That's what you need.
that's right. So
Not
maybe
Henry
next
Davis.
year. What's that? Yeah.
Yeah. Except Henry Davis.
Were you? How excited were you that they took a Louisville guy 1-1?
Oh, I was very excited.
He was
Yeah.
so obnoxious.
And then I wanted them to take Dalton Rushing with their second pick,
would have been
but
better.
he got picked like 2 picks before, I think, the Pirates in that.
Yeah,
in that draft.
Dodgers. That was a good pick. I will say
Yeah.
in the defense of Henry Davis, like again, I would have taken whoever they thought was the best player. And they may say they thought Henry Davis was the best player. But it wasn't like they made that up. Like Henry Davis was considered the best. Different type of player, but kind of similar to Iva Arquette this year, in which it was weird you're coming off COVID and people are like, oh, that's the best. The college bat crop isn't great. He's the best one of them, but it's not a typical best college bat guy. So,
Yeah. Well, you said you got another mock draft coming out here soon, right?
next week, yep.
Next week. And are you going to be on MLB Network night of?
Night of, and then day 2. Well, there's only 2 days of the draft. I'm not quite sure. Like, I assume Jonathan Mann and I will be. I know I'm there for day 2 of the draft. I don't know exactly what the format is. Like, it's because it's not just through round 10; it's through the end, round 20. I don't think there's any way they're going to make us try to analyze each pick around 11 through 20. So I assume rounds 4 through 10, it will be the usual pick a minute. We throw in commentary in between picks. That's my assumption, but I don't know for sure.
Got it. Well,
We'll be tuned
so
in.
you can find all of Jim's work on MLB.com. Plug anything else you got going on, Jim?
I'd say just go to our site, MLBpipeline.com. We're going to update our top 100, kind of more of a light updating, but we just did the new draft top 250 with best tools. Jonathan has a mock draft. We have all kinds of draft features coming out from the combine. So yeah, and like I said, I mean, one of the nice things about our site, it's all free, because it's part of MLB.com promoting the game. And so none of it's behind a paywall. We got scouting reports, video on all these guys for people to check out.
Good stuff. Well, so we're looking forward to the draft. We've got our draft show that we'll have that Sunday as well. Excited for it. And so mock A, Iva Arquette, mock B, Seth Hernandez. There we go.
I don't not feeling as confident about this one.
All right. Well, hey, appreciate you again, Jim. Always great
Thanks.
having you on. We just talk ball with you forever. I feel like so.
Football or
appreciate
baseball?
you. Yeah,
That's
and
right.
Everybody watching,
And hockey. I'm a hockey fan. We
Yeah.
talk Penguins at some point. So
everybody
next year.
watching, listening, like the show, subscribe if you haven't already, and check out Jim's stuff over on MLB Pipeline.
Appreciate it, Jim.
okay,
All right,
thanks, guys.
I'll see you later. All right, that wraps up this episode of North Shore 9. Thanks so much for tuning in. Whether you're listening on the podcast or catching us on YouTube, if you enjoyed the show, please give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. It really helps us grow. And if you're listening on the podcast, a quick review goes a long way in helping others find the show. Plus, be sure to tell a friend about us. There's always room for more here in the NS9 community. And for those looking to support us a little more, consider joining our Patreon, become an MVP member, and get exclusive perks while helping us continue to bring you more of the Pirates content you love. Thanks again for all your support, and let's go Bucks.